By the time our sessions are over, that woman is able to be free within herself and not be afraid to show that side of her.
That's priceless.
That side is inner joy, and I'm not apologizing for it. I'm not hiding my smile. I'm going to be happy even if it makes you feel uncomfortable.
Welcome to the Shaping Freedom podcast, where we dive into conversations that inspire personal growth, transformation, and clarity in challenging times. I'm your host, Lisane Basquiat. Today, I'm sitting down with a woman whose life is a living meditation on resilience, alignment, and generational healing. I have the honor of sitting with Denita Austin. She's a 7-time best-selling author, emotional resilience strategist, entrepreneur, and the founder of Collective Resiliency. Her story stretches from the structured systems of NASA to the soul-led spaces of yoga, mindfulness, publishing, and high-level private advising. But what stands out most is why Denita does this work. As she puts it, I created Collective Resiliency to provide sacred spaces for women to unmask, express their truth, and feel safe being seen. Her mission is personal and deeply intentional, to help women come home to themselves by mastering emotional resilience, navigating power dynamics with grace, and owning the fullness of their presence. Through her writing, her elite wellness retreats, and her forthcoming sanctuary for high-level women, Denita offers something rare: a bridge between achievement and alignment, between outer success and inner safety. Her work has been featured in Vogue, Cosmopolitan, Yahoo Life, and on a Times Square billboard. But it's her grounded presence, her clarity of vision, and her commitment to legacy that truly make her a force in the emotional wellness space. Denita, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited for this conversation for a number of reasons. And one is because you've done so much. You've brought so much to the world. And from afar, because this is the first time we're meeting each other,
Yes.
You seem to have done that without the kind of go, go, go that so many of us feel we have to embody. You seem to, and now seeing you physically here and getting to bear witness to your beautiful energy, you seem to have done that from a grounded place, and that's such a model for people.
Thank you.
Tell us a bit about your journey in doing this work. Like, how do you go from NASA to what you're doing today?
Listening to you read that, I was kind of blown away myself because you kind of hit my heart there. I was like, wow, who's this person? Like, because
I'm happy to hear that.
I'm like,
yeah.
Wow. So, wow. I would say I'm originally from Washington, D.C. So I think the culture there growing up was, going to school, getting a government job, and that was the roadmap. So that's what I did.
Yeah.
Right. And working at NASA was something quite incredible. I learned quite a few things, but I learned more about myself, if that makes sense. I think space is incredible. But at the time, although I was there for years, I wanted to do something dealing with women empowerment. And I knew that when I was there. So although it was incredible, I wanted to take a different route. Yeah. And so I would say that's what led me here to Los Angeles. Yeah, over time.
How did you operate as being a person who knew that there was something else that you wanted to do that was so seemingly polar opposite to the work that you were doing at NASA? How did you decide to lean into that desire?
Yeah, extreme opposite, actually.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. I was teaching yoga at the same time.
Okay.
I became certified in 2003, 1,000 years ago. Yeah. And I enjoyed it. That was another journey of learning about myself. And that was two different worlds of teaching in salt caves or teaching at universities and then going to NASA to work. Right. So I was connecting with people on a different level and on a deeper level. And that's something that was meaningful to me. And it kind of hit the heart space a bit. And so when it hit the heart space, I said, whoa, what is this? I need to be in this kind of energy.
Yeah.
So I think it started there. And then that's when I published my first book through that journey. I wanted to share my journey with other women and what I was going through, whether it was the confidence issues, challenges, or whether it was the insecurities, whether it was me trying to find myself or who I wanted to become, family dynamics, the whole works, career, all of that. And so I think yoga and meditation helped me through that process of discovering or searching or understanding who I wanted to become, what was the better or bigger version of myself. And so that journey was quite interesting.
And so you talk about women empowerment. In what way? Actually, before I go there, so you heard an introduction about yourself.
Yeah, who's that? Yeah.
What does hearing that, and I know that it's only a piece.
Yeah.
You know, it's a small little piece of who you are. What does that introduction tell you today?
It sounds like a person that is a hard worker in a sense, but a person that has just explored a lot and still is, still learning and still growing. And I don't know, I mean, listening to you read that, I would say the person's pretty interesting, actually, that has some layers there for sure.
Yeah, what I got out of it is a woman who went from, space to groundedness.
Oh,
right?
wow.
And who is exploring so many things in between, like a woman who has something to say and something to share, and that you've observed some things.
Yeah.
And you're taking those things and kind of using them or leveraging your observations into a way to provide healing to other women.
Perception. Wow, look at that. That's well said.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Which led me to be very interested in sitting down to have this conversation with you.
Yeah.
And at the time, not even knowing that you're my Virgo sister. I didn't know that.
Love it.
The epitome of multitaskers. I love it.
That part. And it's so funny because you said, it's interesting being observant. Yeah, because you're able to pick things apart in a sense, understand why they work, how they work, and apply those things that you're learning to what you want to create or what you want to build.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In your work to empower women, what is it that what would you like to see? In what ways would you like to contribute to empowering women?
I really enjoy creating spaces for women. And when I say that, I mean safe spaces.
Yeah,
and when I say that, I mean enter this space, take off your shoes, grab some tea, and let's really have a heart to heart, right? And let's leave the ego at the door, right? What is it that you need, right? What is it that you need to feel?
Yeah.
I think some of us, well, probably all of us, need to be seen, heard, appreciated, understood, right? Celebrated.
Validated.
That part.
Yeah. Yeah.
Validated.
Yeah.
And then sometimes it's as basic as a hug, right? And I think that for me, well, I would say I know that I'm passionate about creating those spaces, and not just for a selective group of people, just for women. And I feel like, whether it's your career or something else, you have to show up a certain way and be strong right? And protect yourself
Yeah.
and control yourself and control your emotions, right? All of this armor.
Yes.
And, you know, I don't like to operate like that, although you have to sometimes, right? It's just kind of a skill set in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to create those spaces where you don't have to wear armor. No one cares.
Yeah.
Just show up being you.
Yeah.
Right? But then also, I want women to learn how to support each other better. I think that we can do better.
Can you talk a little bit more about that? Because I 100% agree with you.
There may be hours of a conversation.
Well, let's do it. We're here. We have time. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the ways that we don't.
I'll try not to get emotional. I would say that it starts from childhood.
Yes.
Okay. We are not prejudiced when we're children.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's welcome in the sandbox.
Let's
all play.
That's right.
Right? Here are my blocks.
Mm-hmm.
Those are your blocks.
Right.
Let's come in the middle.
Right.
Let's play with our blocks.
Yes.
Nothing else matters.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what you're wearing, where you live.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There's something that happens as we get older. Right? And everyone's experiences are different. And I feel like whatever happens in someone's life, whatever it may be, we lose sight of the softness and the precious energy that we could give to each other that we did when we were kids.
Yes.
It's heartbreaking for me. I don't know what happens there, but I think that it starts in that space of women asking themselves for their own journey. What happened that I lost that? What happened on my journey or in my personal life or my professional life where I feel like I can't be soft around another woman?
Yeah.
I can't be strong for her.
Mm-hmm.
I can't be there for her.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I ask these questions in my writings for women to ask themselves, how am I showing up for another woman?
Yeah.
Whether she's related to me or not.
Yeah.
How am I showing up? Am I giving her breadcrumbs?
Mm-hmm.
Or am I giving her 100% of me?
Right. Am I judging her? Am I judging her, or am I accepting her for who she is? I would I would add that what happens in my observation is that we get taught very abruptly to get out of relationship with ourselves at a very early age. We get taught that how we're supposed to see ourselves. And so what comes natural to us is typically, it's love. It's love. We're going to play in the sandbox together, and you're there and I'm here and I'm living in the fullness of who I am and you're doing the same. And then at some point along the way, someone tells us, with great intention, probably, but someone, we start to hear and get programmed to that who we are isn't right.
Absolutely.
Like what we want to do isn't the right thing. It's not the roadmap like you talked about.
Absolutely.
That was laid out. Anything that differs from the roadmap that was laid out for us is wrong in some way. And so we internalize that.
Yeah.
And so I would, in my observation, women treat each other that way because it's just a reflection of the way that we're treating ourselves. Because when you're in love with yourself and when you're able to lean into that squishiness, that just like that thing that only we as women have.
Yes.
It's almost impossible to do another woman wrong. It's almost impossible to do another human being wrong.
Absolutely.
But if you're living in an internal space where you're criticizing yourself constantly and you're like, that's not good enough, push harder, who you are isn't right for the moment. We take that and we put it on other people.
Absolutely.
And I think that's one of the saddest things that we encounter.
And, I say why, but that's the why.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah.
That's the why.
Yeah.
But that requires some work.
For sure.
That you have to be willing to do. you know, because of course it starts with yourself, right? You have to do the work yourself. Of course, we know that.
Yeah.
But once you do that, then let's share some of that.
Yeah. But do we know that the work is with ourselves? Because I know a lot of people who, in trying to make themselves feel better, attempt to get everyone else around them to change.
That would be control.
Yeah. I know a lot of folks who are like, I'd be happy if you would stop doing this, and if you would do that, and if you would, it's like, and I know that we both know that it's really a way of deferring the work that we really in our heart know we have to do for ourselves. But step one is often step one, or step zero. I don't know.
See, okay. So what I got from that was the fact that I strongly believe everyone has something to offer.
Yes.
We all have a gift.
That's right.
Right? We all have something to contribute. And I feel like, going back to what you said, I feel like if we can show up for each other, right? And acknowledge the gift in everyone else, we don't have to push to control.
That's right.
Because I admire this about you. You have this gift, you have this gift, they have that gift, right? If we come together, right?
Yeah.
And bring all those gifts together,
guess what we have?
Oh my God. Right?
Yeah.
So there's no need to control.
That's right.
Right?
That's
so
right.
I think that's the part that kind of like bothers me just a little bit, because we need each other more than we like to admit.
Yeah.
And that's the ego, right? What's wrong with that? What's wrong with needing someone? They have a gift that you probably don't. But if you guys come together, that's amazing. Something amazing that you can do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think what's wrong, and I'm putting that in air quotes, is that a lot of us, including me, full disclosure, I was taught not to need anyone.
Yeah.
I was taught that to need someone else is indicative of my weakness.
I know.
I know. I was taught to protect at all costs.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, I went into the world as a young adult feeling very alone, feeling very much into my individualistic self, and that I was believing or taught, even though it felt off, because we all know, again, what is right for us and what isn't right for us. I felt like there was something awry there, because I desperately wanted to embrace the world and to embrace other women and to share vulnerably the things that were happening inside of my heart.
That part.
My heart was broken.
Yeah.
He hurt me. She betrayed me, like whatever those things were. But I felt uncomfortable in the beginning doing that.
And that's the part that no one's talking about.
That's right.
And that right there.
Yeah.
That's my jam.
Yeah.
Because that's the armor.
Yeah.
Right? We have to be strong. I don't need anyone. I'm strong. I can handle this. I got this.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't want to show weakness.
Yeah.
Because if I show weakness, I'll get attacked or I may get judged.
Right.
Right? But although I understand that approach, I was raised the same way, I can't ignore my emotions.
Yeah.
I can't ignore the vulnerability, because I still feel, and I feel deeply. Right? And I won't be ashamed of that. Although some have over the years have definitely shamed me for feeling deeply. Right? You need to suck it up. You wear your heart on your sleeve.
Yes.
It's not a matter of wearing your heart on your sleeve. It's a matter of being connected to your emotions.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm not denying them. Yeah. Because what happens is when you try to control your emotions and you suppress them, you end up having health issues later. You end up having other problems later.
Thank you.
It may transform into anger later or something worse.
Yes.
And so let's avoid that, right? Let's not have those issues. Let's deal with our emotions and If they're attached to trauma or anything else, let's deal with that too. Because what happens is that all of that will probably be projected onto someone else. It may show up in your friendships or your relationships, for that matter. So deal with them.
Yeah, it will show up.
For sure.
It's like my baggage will be talking with your baggage. My baggage is arguing with your baggage. And we're not even in the room.
Yes, that part.
Yeah.
That part.
Hey, it's Lisane. I created Protect Your Peace, a boundaries and accountability workshop, because I know what it's like to feel stretched too thin and how it feels when you're saying yes to everyone else, but feel like you're disappearing in the process. This workshop is your invitation to pause and to come back to you. In just 2 hours, you'll learn how to set boundaries that reflect your values, protect your energy, and strengthen your voice unapologetically. You'll also learn how to hold yourself accountable in a way that builds self-trust and momentum, not burnout. This is the kind of space I wish I had when I was deep in the cycle of over-responsibility and simply just doing too much. So I created it for you. Join me for Protect Your Peace, live or on demand, and walk away with tools you can use immediately to get back in alignment. Click the link in the show notes to register. You deserve to protect your peace and your power. So what is the problem with that? Like when you when you work with women on that armor, let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah.
Because it has been the shield for so many women. And a shield means that you're inside and everything else is outside.
Absolutely.
So you're in there by yourself. Which is not what we're meant to do and not how we're meant to be.
Yeah.
So let's talk. Can you share a little bit about that armor and why it's important to do the work and allow some of that armor to be used like as a tool when you need it, but not as your permanent way of being?
Besides the fact of like the anger and the suppression of that turns into anger, or the
but the anger helps me. The anger keeps me safe.
So they think.
Yeah. So the anger keeps me safe because nobody's gonna mess with me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm tough.
Yeah, and I'm tough. And now you know not to mess with me.
Right.
Yeah.
To me, that comes from ego. That's the ego speaking. That's not the heart speaking.
Yeah.
The heart doesn't even operate like that.
Yeah.
Because if it did, it probably would have when you were a kid.
Right.
I'm sure when you were playing with your toys, it's not really how you were acting, with your friends or whoever. Yeah. Right. It still goes back to the safe spaces. Sometimes people don't have a safe space at home.
Right.
They have to create that first. If you're in a relationship or not, you have to create that with yourself. Inside first, then the actual physical home. Right. So I say that's step one. To me, you can't communicate effectively with someone else or pour into someone else's cup if you haven't poured into your own. Right. When I'm working with my clients, all of them have armor because they have to feel safe.
Yeah.
But they don't feel safe within themselves. That's where it starts. So we have to work on that first to see what those issues are. And everyone's issues are completely different because everyone has a different journey and our experiences shape who we are. So for me, it's about peeling away those layers and understanding the person at the core and what the challenges are, what the fears are. I think once we kind of get past that, then we understand, okay, so what's the next step here? How can we move forward? What is the goal? Not the career goal. I want to be this person so I can appear this way. I want these credentials or this resume. Who are you outside of that? And a lot of people can't even answer that question, right? Let's take away the resume. Let's take away the accomplishments. Let's take away all of that. Who are you? Can you actually have a conversation with someone from here? And so
That's a challenging question.
Oh, for sure.
You can talk to people, but can you have a conversation?
That part.
Yeah.
And so I have a girlfriend. She's so sweet to me. She said to me one day recently, she said, Denita, the questions that you ask are very uncomfortable. And I said, really? What do you mean? She's like, you're always asking people, how is their heart space? And I'm like, how is it uncomfortable? Because I genuinely care when I'm talking to someone. Real question. How is your heart space? Because this is my way of checking in on you to see how you're feeling, how you're doing. Because I don't care about all the other stuff. I want to know how you're feeling. Because if I can help or support on some level, I'm here. Yeah. Now, if that space is good, let's move on. Let's talk about something else, whatever it may be. Yeah. Right? And she said, Denita, some people can't handle that question because the heart space isn't healthy. It doesn't feel good. Yeah. And they don't want to face it. Yeah. And I said, I never thought about that because I was coming from a genuine space anyway. I wasn't, and I said, well, I hear you and I respect what you're saying, but I'm not going to stop asking people because I want to know. Yeah. And no one's having the conversation. And my question is, why are we not having this conversation? And we live in this world now where it's like we're glamorizing detachment. What are we detaching from?
Ourselves.
And people.
And other people.
Right?
And the human experience. And our emotions. All of them. All of them. And if you're detaching from anger, sadness, hurt, anxiety, fear, then what it sets you up for is detaching yourself from joy and self-love and finding who you are, finding out who you are.
Absolutely.
It detaches you from everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And how is that rewarding?
I don't have to feel. It circles back to the discomfort with the question.
Right.
You don't have to feel. I don't have to feel.
So I'm strong.
So I can be a robot. Yeah. And I'm strong.
That's right.
And I can get things done. And I can live my resume.
That takes me to controlling your emotions, right? You're controlling them. So if you're controlling them, when are you feeling them? When are you experiencing them? You're not, because you're controlling them the whole time. Yeah. And you're proud of that.
Yeah. What is some of the armor that you see? And I'm asking this because I want those who are listening to really feel into this, and to see what resonates. Yeah. In the privacy of your own, connection to this conversation, in your ear. What is some of the armor that you see women carrying around?
Let me see if I'm answering this right. I would say their career is their shield. That's an armor, a layer of armor.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, it's layers. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the persona. That's what I've built. This is what you see. Yeah. This is what you will always see. Yeah. You won't see anything else. Yeah. So that's a layer there. I think it falls under the umbrella of titles. I think in my mind, armor would be titles. It can be a mom.
It
can be a sister.
Where I'm the mother, and therefore, this is my armor.
Yes.
I'm the mother.
Yes.
And we're not going to explore how you might be experiencing me as your mother.
Oh, no.
Because I'm your mother.
Absolutely.
I'm your wife.
That part.
I am your wife. Yes. That is my title.
Yes.
Yes.
And so there's a set of rules.
Yes.
that are created, that you create in your head, that's attached to that title.
Right. That everyone else is supposed to live by.
Of course. Layers of armor.
Yeah.
So then the challenging question that I introduce is, if we take that title off, that hat, just for 2 seconds, who are you? And a lot of people can't answer that question because I'm not going to say you're not doing the work. We know what it is. You're not sitting with yourself long enough without a distraction to ask yourself that question, right? It's because it's so easy to create a character.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And run with it. This is who I am, right?
This is who I want you
to believe who
to
I am.
believe. This is who I want you to see. And this is how I want you to see it. I'm going to control how you see me. Okay. So, okay. This is my persona, and you better not ask me anything.
Oh my God.
That's going to take me out of character, because then I'll be mad at you. And you'll see my anger. And there we are. And there we are.
You know, I love this because, my closest friends, they see all of my layers and love me for every last one. And I love them for seeing all my layers because that's who I am. But then also there's some vulnerability in that. There's definitely truth in that, but also understanding each layer and why they actually exist.
Yeah.
Right? And I can do the same for them. And to me, there's no better way.
We need people to bear witness. And sometimes we're not ready to bear witness to our own soul.
Absolutely.
What we could do, a small step, could be allowing other people that you feel safe with, people that you know love you, allow those folks to truly and authentically bear witness to who you are and reflect that back to you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And then when you feel more comfortable being willing to receive that, then you can dig a little deeper into yourself.
Absolutely.
But I think that is really the tragedy in the way that we culturally are operating as men and women,
of course,
as humans, is that we are so careful to have that armor up and to not let people in and to not let people give us feedback.
The feedback.
Yeah. What you're doing is creating an unsafe space for us, Missy or Mister.
Yeah, absolutely.
What you're doing is you're creating a space where we're walking on eggshells around you, and where you're taking your baggage and you're making us walk around your baggage and act like it's not there.
That part.
And you're unwilling to allow us to even tell you that this is what we're experiencing and this is how we're experiencing you, because your ego won't allow us to. And you have done this for decades. And now we're moving into the next generation that is removed from who you really are, because they've been in relationship with your baggage for the entirety of their lives.
With the I don't care.
With the I don't care. With the I don't care.
And that's what we're living in right now.
Yeah.
No one cares.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do we do?
It makes you think, like, if you're in a space and everyone cares and everyone is supportive and everyone is showing love, can you just imagine how powerful that space can be?
Yeah. And how
and
beautiful.
Not performative.
Not at all.
There's a difference.
Yes. Yes.
Not performative affection or performative love.
Yeah.
Or support, but genuine, the essence of it.
You create those spaces at the micro level with the work that you're doing.
Yes.
What does that look like?
Yeah.
What does it feel like? Someone looking in through a window, what would they see?
That's interesting because I will admit sometimes it's hard being a Virgo.
Oh, come on now, don't get me started.
Because when you're creating, you're kind of working.
Yeah.
So you're making sure, my brain is always like making sure everything is okay.
Yeah.
So that's a different lens. once I know everyone is okay, then I can kind of like connect on another level.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm speaking from the actual feedback from people, it warms my heart to see tears of joy.
Mm.
It warms my heart for people to say, I appreciate you and I see you
Mm-hmm.
and I see what you're doing
Mm-hmm.
and I see what you're creating. That warms my heart.
Mm-hmm.
They feel seen. So I've been told. They feel appreciated. But I'm intentional about that.
Yeah.
Because I want you to feel seen.
Mm-hmm.
And anyone that is my friend, that is close to me, they can tell you they feel seen and appreciated. I take so much pride in that because I know how it feels not to be seen and not to be understood.
Yeah.
And since I know that, which a lot of people should naturally, right? Why wouldn't you want someone to feel good? I can't, I don't understand. Like, it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. But I think you have to be, I think that's a byproduct of the work that you've done to get to a place where you can curate a space, a safe space. I think you have to have done enough work to be able to see outside of yourself. There are so many women who are operating in survival mode. They're just trying to get through the day so that they can get to the safety, air quotes, for the folks who are listening and not watching. So they can get to the safety of their bed at night, you know, where maybe they'll let out a little bit of it.
Absolutely.
You know, you have to be out of survival mode to appreciate the beautiful thing that can happen when you hold space for other people. That's fair. A lot of us aren't there.
True.
Yeah.
That's true. I will say this. Every single thing that I speak about and that I write about, I've already experienced.
Yeah.
I only speak from experience.
I can see that.
There's no way in hell that I'm going to say, oh, she or he should do this because they're going to feel great. No.
Yeah.
I have lived quite a few seasons in my life, and definitely coming from the core of who I am. And like I said before, I know how the opposite end feels. That's why I'm intentional about making someone feel amazing.
Yeah.
If I can. Yeah. Right? You know, I asked someone one day, I said, what is the percentage that you would give yourself right now as far as the energy level that you're operating at?
That's a great question.
Right? And here we go again. A friend said, Denita.
Stop asking those questions, Virgo. Stop getting to the heart of the matter,
Stop
Virgo.
it already. And so I'm like, no, because, you know, I live in my head. I overthink everything. I'm very critical. And I want to know, because these are questions I ask myself, because these are my own pep talks.
Yeah.
If I say I'm operating at 40% today, the follow-up question is going to be, why? And what can we do to get you to 100 today?
Yeah.
At least your level of 100.
Right. For today.
For today.
Yeah.
Not the year.
Yeah. Just right now.
Today.
Just get through this.
And so those are questions at the events and the gatherings, because as a collective, right, we want everyone to hear this question and we want everyone to support this question for themselves and for others.
Yeah.
Right? Why not? What, like,
yeah,
that's outside of your credentials.
Yeah. And this feeds into your credentials, because the thing is that if the credentials are as important to us as maybe we're making them out to be, doing this work will have a very positive consequence upon those credentials, because you can show up more fully in the roles that you have.
Yes.
All right, can we talk a moment about setting the vibe? If you're anything like me, your space needs to feel good in order for you to feel good. And that's why I created the Shaping Freedom line of candles. It's not just about ambiance, but really about how you align yourself internally. These are more than just candles. They shift your energy. Whether you're journaling, meditating, working out, or just taking a moment for yourself, these scents are curated to ground you, lift you up, and bring you back home to yourself. They also have an 80-hour burn time and scents that are designed to evoke feelings of alignment and internal congruency. And we can all use that. Go to shop.shapingfreedom.com and check them out. Find the one that speaks to your spirit, or buy all 4 and let them burn with intention. How did you move without, you don't have to get too personal about the story itself, but what was your journey like, kind of moving from wherever it was that you were to deciding to start taking yoga, practicing yoga, and moving yourself away from whatever armor you'd created for yourself?
Yeah.
What was that like? Like, what was some of the fear for you, or
At
the challenges?
Yeah. So let me think back to 1,000 years ago. uh, I was lost at that time. And I knew nothing about yoga at that time. And I said to myself,
Was yoga in your life?
No.
Like, was that?
No.
Okay. Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
Never. And this is a funny story. Actually, I was looking for a part-time job, right? And this yoga studio was hiring. And I said, yoga, what is this? Whatever. A part-time job would be great.
Yeah.
Whatever. So I walked into the studio with a suit on. Who walks in a yoga studio with a suit?
Was it blue or black?
It was black.
It was black. Did you have like maybe a t-shirt underneath it or something? Just to bring it down and not just to soften it a notch. Did you do that? Was that what was happening?
It's a mess.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
So I entered the studio and the owner said, hello.
Peculiar lady.
Because the position was a manager position.
Yeah.
So I didn't.
Yes, manager means.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, whatever. This was something I was looking to do on the weekends, whatever. And so funny. So he's like, take off your shoes. I'm like, what?
Wait a minute, sir.
We're not going into an office here. What do we, And so, anyway, long story short, it was quite an experience. And so I ended up getting the position, became a manager, and my whole world
opened up, I'm sure.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I was like, what is this? What's going on? And he said to me, being around you for quite some time, I think you should be a teacher. And I said, I will never in my life be a teacher. He's like, why not? And I said, that's just not me. I have my suit on.
Yeah.
That's
not me. That means something. Yeah.
Yeah. The title.
Yeah. That means something.
Right?
Yeah.
The set of rules. And so after a year, he won. And so he won.
You won, Denita.
That part. And so I entered into yoga school. And I had to fix rice for everyone. It was like an ashram kind of experience. Washing the mats by hand. And, it was more of a communal
service.
Space. So
Yeah.
It changed me. Changed my whole life.
Yeah.
I met some incredible people. I traveled a lot. And then I said, I can do this. And once I graduated, I started teaching. And I said, who is this woman? To myself.
Yeah.
And it was just amazing. It was like a rebirth. And so that's when my journey, I think, began.
And did you start to see things differently?
Oh, yeah. The entire world, people. And I was connecting with people on a deeper level, which I didn't realize I needed at the time. because I was in corporate America my whole life.
Yeah.
So again, title, suit, office, cubicle, right?
Yeah.
And so yoga allowed me to kind of like take that hat off and really show who I was.
What a gift.
And connect with people.
Yeah.
Within a heart space.
And then to continue going into
oh, you couldn't tell me anything.
The headspace of corporate while you were doing that.
Oh, I was like,
interesting.
At that time I said, well, I'm going to continue teaching. So I left the studio. I started teaching other places, meeting new people. And I said, but yes, I had to go back to work. So it was two different worlds, a double life in a sense. It was a struggle.
I would imagine.
For sure, a struggle. And during that time, I said to myself, I don't want to do this anymore. I can't sit at this desk anymore. Yeah. And I couldn't talk to anyone there because they wouldn't understand. And although I spoke their language quite well, right? My passion wasn't there.
Yeah.
There was no passion. And I said, I wanted to work with women because of what I just experienced. And the women that were in my classes, there was so much pain. I never judged them. I created space for them. I understood, right? There was some bonding there. And I said, I want to do more of this. How can I do more of this in my life? And a lot of people said, how in the hell did you leave the federal government? Are you insane? And I said, no, I'm not. I can go back anytime I want if I wanted to.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But right now I need to do something. There's a bigger mission and calling. So that's the long answer.
I was in corporate for 23 years.
Yeah. You understand.
In financial services in particular. I had my own closet full of suits.
Absolutely.
The black, the blue.
The gray, maybe.
Yes, suits. And similarly, I found myself existing in a space where I spoke the language. I knew the norms within that culture. I was successful at it. I did well. But I also felt very void during the time that I was there. And I don't have like horror stories about my corporate life at all, but it just wasn't me. It wasn't the play. I did what I need. I was there for a time and for a season. And I believe that it was partially, and I'm wondering if maybe there's a similar experience for you and others like you and me, where you go through that experience to see another side of the world so that you can be more resonant. You can resonate more with people who are going through pain when you get to see them in a space like a yoga studio or in the spaces that you create for women. You understand what that world looks like and feels like.
Absolutely.
So you can touch and reach into the women that come to you for support and help.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's interesting you say that, because when I would go back to work, I would look at everyone differently.
Yeah, you'd have to.
Yeah. But I was able to see into them.
Yeah.
With whatever they were carrying. And sometimes I didn't want to see.
Yeah.
Right? But you're able to. Naturally.
Yeah.
So I think now, 1,000 years later, right?
Not quite.
I'm grateful for the journey and the experiences, good and bad.
Yeah.
Because again, your experiences shape who you are. And I'm grateful for people who take the time, not only for me, but for other people too, who take the time to sit and listen, learn, and understand each other.
Yeah.
Right? Because again, it goes back to, we all have a gift. We all have something to share. And if you can acknowledge that in someone else, right? If we can do that for each other, just because you're different from me, You have on a blue shirt, I have on a green shirt. Who cares?
Exactly.
Who cares? Right? You have a gift, and I do too. So how can we merge those two together to make something amazing on any level?
What do you do? What's different about the women that come through your programs and the spaces that you create? What's on the other side of it for them, in your observation?
When you say different, do you mean like personality-wise?
In what ways do you help them to see what's on the other side of the armor? What's on the other side of that armor?
I'm able to see the little girl in everyone. And I'm only able to see that because I can see it in myself, right? We tend to hide that little person inside of us. By the time our sessions are over, that woman is able to be free within herself and not be afraid to show that side of her.
That's priceless.
To me, that side is inner joy, and I'm not apologizing for it, right? I'm not hiding my smile. I'm going to be happy even if it makes you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I'm going to smile because it makes me feel good. And I'm not going to wear this armor because that's the persona. I'm going to smile because I feel joy.
Yeah.
And I'm connecting intentionally with my feelings, and I'm not afraid of it. That's what that is. I think a lot of women I work with, they actually want to connect with their emotions. They want to connect with their feelings, and they're willing to do the work, but they don't know how to. Whereas there's other people that they're fully aware and they just don't care. And we all have a choice.
Yeah.
Right? We all have a choice. That may not be a good fit for me as a client or someone that's attending one of the events. And that's okay too, you know? But I would say that's the other side.
What is a ritual that you follow that helps to bring you back to centeredness?
For me, it's solitude. Oh yeah. It's solitude and quiet time. And people say it like it's like a trend, but I think for me, it's been that since I started my yoga journey. So that's like no television, no electronics, no computer, no phone, no nothing, and really zoning out. And not even people for that matter. That's where my clarity comes from. And then once I pull away and I can center myself and find myself and also pick apart, right, the things I have to work on, look in the mirror, not for vanity purposes, but to see.
Yeah.
To see.
Yeah.
And that's another ritual as well, to be able to look in the mirror and pay attention to what you really see. What is it that you see? You know, beyond all the
stuff.
Yeah. Surface.
Yeah.
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 Right. So those are the things that I would say. I mean, the journaling is a given, yeah, but that meditation and that solo time and that quiet time is needed. And then I jump back in the world and I play.
Yeah.
But I can't play fully if I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do with myself. And let's just be honest. I mean, who's perfect? Although we try to be, no one's perfect.
Right.
There are things that I have experienced and I'm like, why did you do that?
Yeah.
What's wrong with you? You know? Okay, back in the corner.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the drawing board.
But you have a reset. You have a reset button.
I have to. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What are 3 things? Because I want to always provide people who are listening a how. And we're talking now, and this is after you have gone through your own personal and professional journey to where you are today and the way that you're holding space for other people and the work that you've done. To someone who may be listening, what are 3 things that they can do if this conversation resonates with them, if they're in a place now where they're thinking, I know I have some armor. and I think I want to do something about it. What are 3 things that they can do?
I'm going to say the first step, and people can say, oh my God, I can do that, but are you really doing it? Pull away from the world for a second.
That's you just came out with the toughest one.
And
you came right on out with it.
That's the starting point, though.
What does that look like? Pulling away from the world. What does that look like?
In 2025?
Yeah. For the person who's like, okay, I want to take these baby steps. I'm ready. I'm here. Pull away from the world. What does that look like?
So that,
because now my heart's pounding. The person's like, wait, what?
Okay, so that's a layered statement, right?
Yeah.
And so the question I would ask myself, how long can you go without the computer, the electronics, the television,
a
the
screen
phone
of any kind?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the first thing, right? Ask yourself that question for you to step away.
Okay.
And then what's connected to that is also, how long can you go without connecting to someone else? Because sometimes that's a distraction. And I know for everyone's lifestyle is different.
Yeah.
But you can still have your alone time because you need that.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the first thing I would say.
So it's like, okay, let me maybe set a timer and say, I'm going to spend an hour.
Yeah.
15 minutes, 20 minutes in solitude.
I would say an
no
hour.
screen, no, I know, I'm just,
Yeah.
No screen, no people. I'm going to, this Saturday afternoon, I'm going to sit for an hour with no distraction. Okay. What else?
I would apply a little bit more pressure and would say every day for a certain amount of time that you can. Okay. Meaning if you said, okay, for 2 weeks, 2 hours a day, when I wake up and when I go to bed.
Yeah.
Right? Because we both know you're not going to see these magical results with them. Like, yeah, of course. To me, it's not really about, the journaling is great, but I like the long walks as well. Right? You have to connect with nature. So if it's the beach, if it's the woods, if it's whatever, take a walk.
Yeah.
Not on the phone.
Yeah.
Not even listening to music.
Just
you. It's really about connecting with yourself. And I think that a lot of people don't know how to do that because we're surrounded by so many distractions.
Yeah.
Right? So yes, solitude, the walking, these are just the basics, right? The third thing I would say is, since I enjoy writing, I'm probably going to say journaling. And not just for the fun of it, but to ask yourself those hard questions, such as, who are you outside of the persona that you created for the world to see? Start there. Right? Who are you without your ego? Right? What are the things that actually bring you joy, that you actually like to do, that you really enjoy doing when no one else is around? Not what seems cool, not what seems trendy, or what you think looks a certain way so you can be accepted into some social club or something, right? What do you actually like to do?
Yeah.
Just those basics. I would start there.
That's wonderful.
And that's just basic homework for yourself, and see what happens after 2 weeks.
See where you are after 2 weeks.
See who you are.
Yeah.
It's going to be different. If a person can do that for 2 weeks straight, you're going to see a difference.
So that's a challenge. An hour in the morning, an hour in the evening, sitting in solitude, no stimulation.
No.
Including people.
Absolutely.
Taking a walk every day.
I would say an hour for sure.
Every day. And of course, people have different lives.
Of course.
But figure that out.
Yeah.
Figure out how to make that happen.
Of course.
Take the walk every day. Because it opens your mind. And the movement does something to your creativity. And journaling. And asking yourself those questions. Who am I? What's going on in here?
Because there's so many distractions.
Yeah.
And if you can watch an hour movie
You can spend an hour.
Bam.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that for the folks who are like, well, what, an hour?
That part.
Yeah.
And if you can scroll.
Yes. And look up and find that 2 hours have passed, or if you're doing it 5 minutes every hour, it adds up.
It's possible.
Yeah.
We can all do it.
Yeah.
And honestly, we all do what we want to do.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't get different results by doing the same thing. Right?
Yeah. You have to do something different.
Yeah. So how do we get to that 100%?
That's right. That's right.
Right?
Denita, I can talk to you for hours.
Same. I feel the same.
Could just sit and let's go downstairs and get some tea and talk for hours. I really can.
I'm loving your energy.
I'm so grateful that we had the chance to have this conversation.
Same.
And I know we'll have more.
Absolutely.
How can we help you?
Oh, wow.
How can we support you?
Let me tell you what hit my heart when you said that.
I want to hear it. I want to hear it.
I need to learn how to receive.
Oh.
Look at that. But I can say that. I can admit that, right? That comes with the work, right?
Yep.
And I honestly, I don't have an answer for you right now because that is something I'm working on right now. Receiving, learning how to receive and learning how to speak your needs.
Yeah.
And where you need support. So I promise you, I'll have an answer soon and I'll follow up. Is that fair?
Yeah, but can I help you a little bit?
I'm like, I don't know.
Can I? May I?
Yeah.
Okay. Don't you have a new project happening?
I have a few. Yeah, Virgo.
Okay. Yeah. So tell me about one of your projects.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I have a new book coming out. It's launching next month.
Okay.
And it's called The Master Keys to Emotional Mastery. The
Master Keys to Emotional Mastery, written by Denita Austin, coming out when?
July.
In July?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's really supporting this entire conversation, honestly. Okay. I would say a lot of people talk about emotional intelligence, which I think is very important. But this book is about emotional depth. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
All about the capacity.
Yeah.
And I think that having those deeper conversations is really how the book is written. It's like we're sitting down having a conversation. It's not something that I'm telling you to do or, here are the rules or no, just a conversation to get you to think a bit and ask yourself some powerful questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And how could a person get into circle with you, get into your space?
Well, if they want to work with me one-on-one, they can visit my website.
Okay.
But if they want to participate more in like a collective space, then it would be through Collective Resiliency and those retreats.
And is all of that information on your website?
Yes.
And what is your website?
Website
URL?
is denitaaustin.com.
Okay.
And the brand is collectiveresiliency.com.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Oh, thank you.
It's been an amazing conversation. I think the gems for me are the tips that you gave. I think those are very practical things that a person could take today and begin to implement and lean into today, knowing or trusting that if a person chooses to do that for 2 weeks, they will be in a different place in just 2 short weeks.
Yeah.
You can't get that watching a show every day for the next 2 weeks.
Absolutely not.
Right? That's one thing I got out of it.
Yeah.
Take those gems and apply them. The second thing is what can happen when you're willing to take a look at the armor that you're showing up with in the world. We all see it. We're all experiencing it. And we want you to take it off Because if you're willing to allow it to dissipate, the human that we get to experience on the other side of that is joy filled. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
And then the third thing that I got from this conversation is what also happens when you, as you've done, Denita Austin, lean into what your heart is telling, where your heart is telling you to go, even while you're walking around with a suit on in corporate America,
Yes.
doing a great job and understanding the language, but feeling like it really isn't your ministry, your space. It's really not your mission.
Yeah.
And what can happen, what beautiful things you're able to bring up and out when you're willing to have the courage to respond to your own invitation.
Absolutely.
You know, you have incredible energy.
Thank you.
I have loved this conversation so much, and I appreciate you taking the time to come in and chat with me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Grateful. Thank you.
Yeah.